Hello and welcome to another exciting edition, and I underline the word exciting edition of Santos on Sports, along with my good friend and partner in crime, Mr. Chris Santos. I am Paul Santos. Oh boy, we are feeling good tonight, are we not? With a banner just hanging in the balance here. But first, let's thank Scotty's Pub of 202 Pleasant Street in the great city of Fall River, citywide glass with 3 locations in Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton. Lakeville Athletic Club in the great town of Lakeville, Massachusetts, and attorney John Seed, located at 156 8th Street in New Bedford. And you can check out johnseedlaw.com. So compared to the Celtics of, say, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, a couple of years back, why is this Celtics team, right? What is the number one reason, Chris, do you think that this particular Celtics team is having this kind of success?
Well, Paul, I don't know if I only have one. I might have like 3 that I kind of compared together. One being coaching and ownership of putting this established team together, getting rid of some parts and adding some new parts, which of course now leads to a very good starting 5, a very tough depth team. Easier to coach, maybe. But I think Missoula's done some good things along the way, learned from experience, and having a good season, obviously, into this playoffs. Number 2, defense, outstanding. 17 playoff basketball games, 100 points. That's what they've given up on defense of an average of scoring by the other teams, 100 points. In today's game with the 3-point line, that's pretty impressive. I'm really, really liking what I'm seeing with this defense. Number 2 all season long, but even now showing even more. And remember, they've done it too with Porzingis for a couple of games, but a lot without him. So they've even had to step up more with their defense. And then I would think number 3, the unselfish play, Paul, of their 2 superstars. What Tatum and Brown have brought to this team unselfishly, to move the ball, to pass the ball, to get others involved, to have assists, to have rebounds, to put it all together, to get White, to get Holiday, Porzingis, Horford, and even the other guys when they come off the bench to lead and run. Those 2 guys have played unselfish basketball down the stretch in the playoffs and have showed a good winning, prodigy to get this team right where they are, 1 win away from sweeping and 1 win away from number 18. Those are the 3 things that I can come up with in my head that I think this why the Celtics are winning.
Okay, I agree with everything that you said there until maybe that last part.
Okay.
But give us a call. We got a couple of calls on the line, 774-762-6234. I don't really think that, particularly Tatum, I don't think he's been unselfish. I think, he's shooting like crap, and he's got guys that can help him. He's got Drew Holiday and he's got Derek White, and there are some.
But what I'm saying is he's still going to take his shots. He's still going to take them no matter what.
Yeah,
and
a lot
they're
of
all
them.
going to take their shots. But when it's not happening, yes, I agree. Instead of keep putting them up, he's made some other moves to make passes, get other people involved. And I think Brown's done the same thing. When it's maybe not his game and it's not working at that time, maybe pass it until it starts to become his game again. So I think like the way both of them are playing.
I think the number one reason why this Celtics team is winning and the old Celtics team would have blown the game is because you got rid of Marcus Smart and you added Drew Holiday and Derek White. You take away Drew Holiday, who won a game himself, even Porzingis, who has been like basically unavailable, won a game for you in the NBA Finals. He won a game for you in the NBA Finals. Drew Holiday won a game for you in the NBA Finals.
Sure did.
So this narrative that, these guys are coming of age and all that. Yeah, I mean, Doncic was getting a little bitchy at the end there, I like him a lot, but he was a little bitchy yesterday. But he doesn't have the help that Tatum and Brown have either. You know what I mean?
No, and we know that Porzingis is an all-star. We know that Holiday is an all-star. We know what White gives you. And then even those 3 guys, Horford is a former all-star. Even though his age is catching up, he still can give you, some good minutes and some rebounding, even a couple outside shots to keep that going. And then coming off the bench, Hauser shooting some threes, Pritchard running a point, putting more energy. So I agree. But again, I put it back to one of my things that I said, ownership and coaching, putting this team together, knowing that, hey, we don't have enough to get over the hump, get over the edge. If we do this, I think we can. So I think they went the right way. Stevens and Missoula working together to form the creation, and they got it right now in their favor.
All right, let's open it up here with Ben from Dartmouth. Good evening. Ben, you're on. Hello, Ben, you're on the air.
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Pretty surprising, I have to say, though. I predicted Celtics in 6, but like now the way that this series has been for the Celtics, I mean, it might.
I think I lost him there, Paul.
There you go.
Boston. But you know, I'm shocked about the way the defense has played. I mean, Porzingis has stepped up. Although he's injured, I hope Personally, I think that he should be on the bench so we can rest him up and give him a rank. And let Al Horford get some playing time before he ends up retiring as well. Meanwhile, I feel like Boston's a stacked team compared to the Mavericks. The Mavericks only have 2 good players. I mean, Luka and Kyrie, that's the 2 players that they rely on the most. I mean, to be honest with you, it's just Boston's the better team, and it's just we've seen it from the past couple of games, and you can clearly tell the Celtics don't need Jason Tatum in clutch games like this. They can rely on other players as well.
All right, I agree with that, Ben. I thank you very much for calling. We appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good day, guys.
Hey, it doesn't matter how you win, right? It doesn't matter how you win, but I do make this observation, and I know it can be irritating to some, right? This isn't a situation where like your superstar player put the team on his back and they win the championship. It's basically like he's kind of there doing the thing that he always does, and then everybody else, including Jaylen Brown. I mean, Jaylen Brown, pretty good case for MVP at this time, right? I don't know what's going to happen in Game 4, but there are a lot of other guys there that are winning games for you. You know, I mean, when you name these other teams, if you name a team, the first name that comes to mind is this first name that comes to mind. You know, whether you say like, Denver, it's Jokic. You know, you can name another team, maybe it's Embiid, or you name Dallas, and it's immediately Doncic.
Yeah.
You know, the Celtics, it's really Brown and Tatum, and you can flip them back and forth. Sometimes Brown, Tatum, blah, blah, blah. You know, I still think it's Brown. I still think it's Brown more in the clutch though. But awesome. you have a tandem, right? A great tandem that nobody else has, plus all this depth.
Correct.
All this depth, right? So that's the thing that's different. So I mean, it's not like you got on the back of the superstar and you went to the championship. That's not what happened.
Well, then obviously, what's wrong with Dallas?
Nothing.
Because if you beat the Clippers and you beat Oklahoma City and you beat Minnesota and you're doing it with 1.5 players, one is Doncic and a half of an Irvin, because it's back and forth. So that means somebody else has had to step up in those series to help them guys. You just have to. Are they doing it in this series? No, because of Boston defense. And as you said, the depth and quality of the other players besides Tatum and Brown, and the depth of the quality. I thought, and I said this from the beginning, and I'll eat crow, I have no problem. I thought that the Dallas players on the bench would step up better to help out Doncic and Irvin. They have not done that. It doesn't matter who touches the ball. They have no confidence in shooting the ball. I don't see anything. Occasionally you see a 3 go in. Other than that, I don't see anything dropping for anybody besides Doncic and half of an Irvin. So I'll eat crow. I said Dallas would keep this, probably take it to 6 or 7, but their game and quality of depth is not there, and the Celtics defense and quality of players has really stepped to the forefront.
100%, because if you go through the playoffs with Dallas, especially when we were really focusing on them in the Western Conference Finals, these other guys, P.J. Washington, Jones Jr., Gafford, Lively, the young rookie, they were all like making contributions, and the Celtics, man, they just shut all those guys down. And I think a lot of it too was in Game 1 Game 2, they were missing a lot of shots. They couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. You know what I mean? And we really thought that there was going to be a lot more of a contributing factor. But let me just point this out because I know this is a thing, right?
Yeah.
That I kind of keep saying here. You know, Tatum is still not the clutch guy, right?
Mhm.
He hasn't had to be. But he always does something that irritates me in every game. I don't care if he scores 50 points, right?
Mhm.
The Celtics are ahead by 4. There's a minute and a half left.
Mhm.
He's coming down the court. Nobody can stop him when he goes to the basket. And he's got to take that effing step back 3
Mhm.
every time. And he takes that step back 3 with a minute 30 left. He clanks it like he always does. He must,
Mhm.
it happens like every time. He even did it at the end of the half. He's got to take that step back 3 and he misses it every time. So now Dallas gets the ball, a minute and a half left, and it's still a 4-point game. He could have gone to the basket right there. Okay.
Right.
So now the Celtics get it again. Who comes down and gets the clutch shot? JB. Brown is the guy that's money on the table on that team,
Yeah.
not Tatum. That's just the way it is. Doesn't mean I think he's a bum. You
No.
know, he's just not the Tom Brady, Reggie Jackson, Big Poppy. You know, this is the guy I want with money
Right.
on the table. I just hasn't shown that yet.
Right.
And it's not like I'm a hater. It's just that I've been hearing this for 2
Mhm.
years.
You
And
hearing
it's
what?
not,
You hearing what?
that this guy's like, the best player in the world and all this,
Who's telling you that?
Well, he said it when they asked him,
Well, no offense, but if someone's going to tell me and I'm one of the top NBA players, I'm going to sit there and try to be confident and say, yeah, I'm one of the better players. Now, you have to prove it. Now, he hasn't gone out and done that. So, to me, it's the confidence to say, yeah, I can be the guy, but you got to step on the court and show that you can. Now, in past years, he's been a little bit better than definitely this year. He has not shown enough this year to make the contribution of down the stretch. Has he done it early in games? Sure. Has he done some later in games? Sure. But not enough where it could be. Now, in this game the other night, they were up 20. They let it get down to 6. And if I recall, Brown scored, then White scored, and then the Tatum dunk.
Yes.
And the next thing they were up, and then Dallas came back again. Then Brown made a shot. Tatum got fouled, went to the line, made 2. White went to the line and made 2 also. So, that 20 points, when you have that kind of lead right there, don't like to see that dwindling down. But I did see better quality of points going in from Brown, obviously, than I did from Tatum, than I did from White, than I did from Holiday or anybody else. So, yeah, during that time and during that stretch, they were all scoring. Browns looked better than mostly everyone else. But again, it's nice to see a guy like that, who I consider just as equal as Tatum, as 2 outstanding tandem of superstars together, who are playing, again, to me, unselfish basketball and trying to distribute and pass it around. And when it's not my night, hopefully give it to someone else, even though I'm still trying to find my game during that time, during that stretch, because that's what the great ones do. They try to find their game.
All right. Thanks for holding on. We're going to go to
Yeah.
Nelson from Fall River. Good evening.
Oh, Nelson's in trouble today.
It pains me, guys.
It
really
sure
pains
does.
me to think that Boston is about to hold a parade when they just got done celebrating Brady the other night. I mean, guys, it really, really pains me to think that the Celtics just might host a trophy over their heads in Dallas.
What's the number one reason you think, Nelson, the Celtics are winning this year more than last time they were in the finals?
Well, getting rid of Marcus Smart was I think one of the most pivotal decisions.
I agree with you.
Okay.
That I know was a hard decision to make from the front office. I know he must have developed a lot of relationships with those guys. He was there for quite some time. But at the end of the day, you want to win. You want to be in the history books at the end of the day. That's not to say that Marcus Smart is not a bad player. I mean, he's in the NBA. I mean, not many people have that blessing in life. But that was the one decision which brought in Porzingis. And I think, Porzingis, he provides a lot of dividends in the paint. He can block, he can move, but he also can shoot. So, but I just think above all, it's a team effort at the end of the day. Everybody has to play well. unless nothing gets done and you don't make it to the NBA Finals. But to your point, I know you brought up the Knicks, but don't worry, because what's happening in the AL East is going according to plan.
That's right. The Baltimore Orioles are ready to win the World Series.
All right, Nelson, we got a lot of callers. We're going to move it along, but thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again.
Have a nice day.
Another parade.
Paul, let me ask you this quick question.
Yes.
If Holiday's not there in the same team and Marcus Smart is, do they still win?
I'll tell you, Holiday, think about some of the plays that he's made.
Do they still win?
I mean, Derek White's still there. Porzingis is there. Everybody else is there.
The regular crew. Only Holiday's out and Marcus Smart is in.
I think if you take DW out, I don't know. I think it's a harder win. I do.
Okay. Now, if you keep Holiday and you take White out and you bring in Smart, do they still win?
I got to tell you, look at some of the games that the Celtics won, not by much.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they didn't win by much, and they needed a big play from Holiday a couple of times. They needed a big game from Porzingis. They needed a big game from they got the game from Brown, so we're not talking about Brown. But
how about White's defense? How about White's
defense? White's defense. I mean, you can't get by White and Holiday. You know what I mean? Their defense is phenomenal in the back.
They're really trapping well, and even on fast breaks, they're getting back and they're making some blocks. You go, whoa.
But
how did you make that one?
I don't think that I'm not buying this narrative. I'm sorry about this because I don't want to be arguing on this one thing. No. But I don't think Tatum is out there going, okay, I'm going to play unselfish, so I can win the championship. I think he's out there going, I shot the ball, I missed it. I shot the ball, I missed it again. I shot the ball, I missed it again. Hey, Drew Holiday's standing over there. Maybe I'll give him the ball. He hits it, Okay, missed another one. Oh, well, maybe I'll give it to Brown. He'll hit it, Like he still wants to. I mean, he still wants to win that MVP. I don't care what anybody says. He still wants. I mean, he wants to win the trophy. He wants to win the O'Brien Trophy because he doesn't want to be Dan Marino. And people are harping on you. You never won. Or Charles Barkley. You never won. So you got to win a championship. You have to be on a championship team because otherwise you'll get bombarded with the fact that you never were on a championship team. But I don't see this like big unselfish thing. I'm always sitting on the bench, and we were talking about it through the text. He's sitting on the bench, and he says, "Hey, everybody, let's make sure we go to the basket. No more step back threes." And the announcer said,
"But he said, including myself."
Yeah, including myself. But he caught himself. He's like, "Yeah, including myself," because the guy's like, "What? You're the king of the bad step back three. What are you talking about?"
Myself. So I agree that there are times that it's not there. I'm not seeing it as worse as you're seeing it. You're going to have some nights where you're just not making, but you're going to have some nights you're going to move the ball around. And the Celtics play the greatest basketball of ever is when they really rotate that ball around and they move it to everybody. And we've seen it many a times this year. And when they do it better than anyone. And they find the open man. So I don't know, when you're getting 10 dimes, 11 dimes a game, to me, that's like almost scoring 25, 30 points and you're passing the ball around. And Brown can do it. Tatum can do it. White can do it. I mean, all four guys can do it. So that's how good and much depth this team has. And I just think that they all play unselfish ball. They can't be beat. All
right, really good time to call right now. Open line here at 774-218-3393. We had like 3 people calling at the same time, and we're trying to arrange everybody to get in. So if you tried to call before, now is a good time to call in. What is the number one reason why the Celtics are winning now? And I think, you talked about it and everybody's talked about it. It is the depth. I mean, I have just never seen a team with this kind of depth. I mean, it's unbelievable. Even Hauser came in and knocked down some threes yesterday. As we talked about, the starting 5. I mean, they are just fantastic.
Get back to the Larry Bird days. I mean, with that starting 5. And
exactly.
What they had.
All right, we're going to go to Ryan in Rochester. Good evening.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, Ryan.
Pretty good. Hang on one second, okay? Hey, Spear, hang on a second, okay?
All right. I'm up in there.
All right, let's go to Ryan first. Ryan, what's going on? We get Spear on hold. Go ahead. You got plenty of time, though.
No, it's all good. So to answer the question, number one reason why the Celtics are winning right now, I give all the credit in the world to Brad Stevens. And, that's not to take anything away from Wick Grossbeck, who is easily the best owner in town right now for, signing off and all these things. But I got to give Brad Stevens all the credit in the world for not only like evaluating and saying, okay, let's get as much talent on this roster as humanly possible. So it doesn't have to be like, Brown and Tatum, you carry us, and then, the bench will figure itself out. He said, no. And on top of it, identifying Porzingis, bringing him in, Drew Holiday, getting Marcus Smart out of the door, bringing him in, because apparently he's wanted Drew Holiday for years. Knowing what those two guys would bring to the table, and again, being willing to just amass a whole lot of talent onto the roster to kind of mitigate, at what at times will be bad games from your two superstars in Brown or Tatum. So I give him massive props for that. I'd say I put Brad at number one. I'd say, as much as I crap on Joe Mazzulla the whole year for that 3-point philosophy of his, there's been significant growth there. And, I think also, and developing his own coaching staff, I think that's also helped. And then I put like the maturity of like the younger guys, young bucks, Brown and Tatum. I put that at number 3, but Brad Stevens, number 1 for me.
I agree with you, Ryan. You're right with my top 3. It was one thing, but I had said the same thing. I like what I've seen. I'm even very, very interested when they have the mics on and you hear the in-game part. I like what I'm hearing from Mazzulla this year more than I've liked in the last couple of years of what he's saying to his group and his troops. He looks like a lot more confident as a coach. He doesn't look shell-shocked. He just seems like he's right in tune with everything that's going on. And again, that could be maturity. That could be, again, great ball players that you have on your team. But it started with Stevens and then moving from there. So, yep, I agree with you 100%.
And as far as clutch, right, when the money's on the table, who's the guy that you want with the ball, Ryan?
Oh, it's Jaylen Brown. There's no question about that because listen, I'm not quite as hard as Tatum as you are, but it's hard to dispute when he's taking those shots in the last minute. He's not making them, but when you see Jaylen Brown, like he's got that thing. He knows like, okay, I gotta sink this, and I'm gonna go and sink this, whether it be going to the mid range or just taking these really hard dunks. Like he's making these shots. So, I think with last night, even though Tatum scored like a point more, just that second half alone in the clutch, I think Jaylen Brown's locked up this MVP, if you're asking me.
All right. Well, thank you for your contribution. As usual, Ryan, it's always fun to hear from you. And, I got to tell you, we have a text thing going, and I noticed that it sounds like when, I don't know, maybe my imagination, but it sounds like when Chris and I are getting into it a little bit, Ryan just kind of stays quiet off to the side and is like enjoying it, I think, a little bit,
He's working. He's watching.
I just let the fire fly,
He's working and watching.
I'm sitting back and enjoying it.
I could tell. Hey, thanks very much for calling as usual.
No problem. Thanks for having me on again, guys.
All right. Spear from Cape Cod, but you're not on Cape Cod right now, right?
I'm up in Maine on my cell phone.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for calling in. We appreciate it.
Nice.
Yeah. First thing I want to say is another great show by the Santos brothers.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
And I want to lead off by saying this is the NBA. The number 5 seed does not beat the number 1 seed. This isn't the NHL. Florida Panthers 2 years ago, out. Last year, Bruins, out. This year, Rangers, out. Different league. The other thing I want to say is no matter how it's going, Tatum is the lifeline for the Celtics. Dependable, rugged, his game has evolved. Unfortunately, the Celtics right now are not going to get the credit that they deserve. They're going to be called a mop-up team. They played a number 8 seed without the best player, a number 4 seed without the best player, a number 6 seed without the best player. So people like me, who was at the Garden in the 60s with Russell, in the 70s with Collins, in the 80s with Bird, and of course 2011 team and everything. So I've seen them all. You can't compare any of the teams. The Celtics are put together well. Brad Stevens is a genius. He put this together, and I would say get the broom out. And I just want to finish by what your brother was saying about the role players not showing up. They don't get a chance. Irving and Luka are taking 59 shots, leaving 36 shots for the rest of the team. They can't get in their rhythm. They get out there. You got to get in the flow. You got to get a pass. You're like Hauser. He gets in, he does some defensive work, he gets a block, he gets a rebound, he makes a pass, then a basket comes, he's in the flow, he shoots, bang. The Mavericks, both players have not had a chance to get into the flow. And I'll leave it with you guys and see what you have to say.
Great job, Spear. I totally agree with you.
All right. Thank you very much. Hold that thought. We're going to go to Craig in New Bedford. Good evening.
Hey, good evening. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. You don't think Drew Holiday's in the talk of MVP?
I think he might be. I think he might be. The only thing is, I think if you look at, the game in totality and the stats and all that, which you have to look at, I think Brown probably edges him out a little bit. But the addition to the team that Drew Holiday has brought, if you look at defense, as Chris pointed out before, and the things that he's done, the big plays he's made with the chips on the table, as I like to say, certainly has an argument.
Oh, it definitely does. I guess it depends on game 4, right? And how they come out and play.
Well, Tatum's going to go out there and score like 50 points in game 4 because he wants that MVP.
And then guess what?
No.
I get to see. When I'm texting Chris, I can't see his facial expression, but here I can see the facial expression.
That's not them. That's not the Boston Celtics.
I'm gonna have to go back and now watch his facial expression.
He says I'm a hater. I'm not a hater.
You're a big hater, but that's okay.
I'm calling it as I see him.
You're a big hater, but that's okay.
Again, if Tatum scores 50 points, we lose. Just saying.
Well,
that's correct. I'd rather see him score 18, get 11
right,
and 10, and triple
Craig,
double and go, yep, that's good play.
Spears said that Tatum was the lifeline of the team. Like, no matter how you look at it, Tatum's the lifeline of the team. You agree with that?
He can create plays, but I'm still going with Jaylen Brown.
Okay.
Jaylen Brown always comes to play. I don't know. I'm saying Jaylen Brown's the lifeline.
Right.
That's just.
I agree.
Tatum can make plays. I'm not taking anything away from him. He can create assists and he can create, but Jaylen just seems to be more consistent. So I think he's more of the lifeline, to be honest with you.
Right. So you think they're going to sweep? You're saying bring out the broom?
I say they're going to sweep it. They haven't got beat by the Mavs all year, and unless, Doncic can get off being a crybaby and crying on the floor, I think this is done. I think it's over.
They can give him whatever he wants because I just think they're going to stop everybody else. He could score 100, and it's just not going to matter because no one else is helping him on the floor. So
nobody's helping him.
They're giving him whatever he wants.
Our bench went, 20 and 2 or something like that?
Yep.
When they came off and Tatum was sitting down. That proves that we don't need – I'm not saying we don't need Tatum. He's a good player, but it proves that we can win without Tatum.
Absolutely.
Win without Tatum.
Yep, easily.
So if Tatum twisted his ankle and everybody else was out there, let's say Porzingis was in, but Tatum is out, what happens then?
We win.
You win anyway.
We win anyway.
I would say the same thing with Brown. I would say the same thing with Holiday. I would say the same thing with White as much as Porzingis. It don't matter who's hurt. It doesn't matter. I don't care who it is.
So
I still think the Celtics would win the game.
You think this first team all-star, you take them off this team, they win anyway?
Yep.
All right.
I really believe they could.
Spears says no. Never win without Tatum.
Well, I believe we would. I believe we
win
without Tatum. I think we have not only do we have good players, but we have a good game plan. James Mazzulla just a J. Joe Mazzulla just puts a good game plan together. And they follow a process. As long as they don't get greedy with worrying about scoring 60 points to become MVP, we sweep them and we continue to win.
Before you go, I'm going to ask you a question. I went into the series thinking that, and even watching games 1 and 2, game 3, Doncic certainly didn't have as good a game as he usually has. But do you think Doncic is the best player out of all the players on these two teams, or do you think somebody else is? Like, who do you think is the best player out of all these players that are out there right now in the finals?
All around, or who's played the best in the finals?
No, just all around best player. If you had to pick.
With Jaylen Brown. I am a huge Jaylen Brown fan.
Jaylen Brown.
I love his consistency. I love his attitude. I just love how he plays.
All right, so you take him over Doncic, first team All-Star, and over Tatum, first team All-Star.
Any day of the week.
All right, very good, Craig. Thanks a lot for calling in. We appreciate it.
No problem. Bye.
Thanks.
All right, well, there's a guy who I think is on the same wavelength as me in terms of really liking Jaylen Brown. But
So you
yeah,
like Brown over Doncic?
do I?
Yes.
I don't know. I got to tell you.
Oh, wait a minute now. You said Doncic was your boy. This is
Nope.
my guy. He's the
Absolutely.
best player in the NBA, is what you told me.
Yeah. No.
Now you're saying Brown's better.
No. I didn't say that. I just kind of I hedged for a moment. No. I didn't. I still think Doncic is the best player in the league. And the thing is,
okay,
I'm listening to the beating that he's taking. You know, I'm kind of listening to different, talk radio and talking heads and all that. And they said, "Oh, he's crying." One announcer had a baby crying in the background. And I'm like, all right, but here's the thing, right? Tatum cries to the referee too. Doncic does it more. I will concede Doncic does it more, but Tatum isn't frustrated right now either, like Doncic is. You know what I mean? Like Tatum is surrounded by talent to the point where Craig thinks they win anyway, right? Doncic, you take Doncic off Dallas, they have no chance of winning anything, even with him there. They can't win. So I like him better. I still think he's the best player in the league. You and I actually talked about this a few weeks ago, and when I said to you, who do you think is better, Doncic or Tatum? I think that was one of the questions that we asked. And at least a few weeks ago, you went with Doncic. I don't know if you changed your view on that.
Yeah, I still believe that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at him.
Even listen, obviously he's frustrated because they're down 3-0. I get that. And the same time is when Brown goes in, he gets fouled and they don't call it, he's frustrated. Tatum goes in, he gets fouled, he doesn't, he's frustrated. Holiday goes in, he puts his arms up. White puts the Porzingis. They all do it. It's just that some guys do it more than others. So as much as Spear says that Tatum revolves around him, the same with Doncic. That ball revolves around him more than anybody in the NBA. He'll touch the ball on any team more than anybody else. So yeah, he's going to have more complaints because more things are going to happen to him than anybody else because he touches the ball so much. Even Embiid is another one in Philadelphia who always has the ball in his possession and he gets, hacked away too. So, most of the times those guys, they think everything's supposed to go their way and well, it doesn't.
I will concede that Doncic in game 3, he started to get frustrated and he started making some mistakes. I mean, he got a couple of reach-in fouls that he really didn't have to do. And then once he got the 5 fouls, I was thinking, boy, you better get out of the way. You better be really careful about what you're going to do. Let somebody else do that. You got to be in the game to try to score in the last 2 minutes because he has been, I mean, I don't know, game 4, when it was all happened, but he has been kind of a clutch guy. If you go back and see some of the shots he's made, I mean, he made some great shots when you really need it and all that. And he really needed to be in that game. So that was some bad decision-making by him. There's no question about it. But I do think also it's easy to not be complaining to the referee when you're winning. So if your team is winning and, P.J. Washington is putting up points and Jones is putting up points and Lively's putting up points and Kleber, what a stiff that guy is. He just came off the bench and he's clanking everything, right? So, Doncic is more frustrated. It doesn't excuse the behavior. I mean, you got to suck it up and try to, work on next year and try to get some other help and other pieces in there and stuff like that. But I don't know if Tatum would not be crying to the referee if his team was feeling it slip away. I mean, they all have that competitive juice. Sure. And I think they just start to hey, it's coming unraveled. You could almost feel the game slipping away. I got to tell you, I didn't really think the game was ever really much in doubt. When it was 51-50 at the half, I was like, I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
I agree with that. I mean, they were up by 20. Yeah. And then sometimes we've seen the meltdown and the melt away of a big lead from Boston in the regular season. So, it starts to get in the back of your head and you start to think, oh boy, here it comes again. And I know Ryan, when we were talking and texting, he started to make that comparison that we've seen this before kind of scenario. So yeah, it does come that way. And I'm sure the players can kind of think of that sometimes, but I think also you can learn from that and say, we're not going to let this happen again. And Missoula can step in and we can do this and get that and make some adjustments and other things to make us better, not make that lead slip away. So good to see that, it didn't end up being a loss and they found a way to survive that run. What was it, 18-2 or whatever it was? That was pretty big by Dallas to make that because we haven't seen that in 1 and 2. So pretty impressive But it works that way, and sometimes you just have to figure out how to stop it.
When the other team is going on a 18-2 run,
Yeah.
like they did in the fourth quarter, is it too much to ask for your number one superstar to step up and score some points there?
Well, how come Brown didn't then?
Well, I think Brown did toward the end there.
18-2. He didn't score during that time.
All right.
Nobody scored during that time, Paul.
Right.
The run was 18-2.
Right, but my superstar, my number one first team all-star.
Jaylen Brown.
But Jaylen Brown isn't my number one.
That's your number one player in all-star.
No, but he's not the first team all-star according to the league.
That's what you're talking about.
He didn't even make the all-star team at all, not even the third team.
I want both. I want to hear the word both. Why isn't it both?
Yeah, both.
Okay.
When Brown
so why isn't the whole team stepping up? Why isn't Holiday? Where's White?
All right.
Same thing.
I went back. I had the game.
One guy.
I had the game DVR because I was out having dinner and I came. I like to start the game like 10, 15 minutes early, and then I zip through all the commercials, So the game was there. So I went back, right? And I'm like, all right, let me go back and see what's going on here, right? So minute 30 left, okay? Minute 30 left.
In the game.
Okay? In the game, right?
Yep.
Dallas is trying to hang on. If Dallas can win that game, it's 2-1. Now it's a series, right? If you can finish them off, nobody's ever come back in the NBA from 3-0.
Where are we at 1:30? Up by 6?
1:30 left in the game. We're up by 4, okay?
We're up by 4, okay.
So down comes Tatum, right? He comes down with the ball, and he starts doing the something. So I'm thinking, oh, here it comes. I can feel it. Here it comes, right?
Yeah.
So he go boom, 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 bounce the ball, throws it up, clank, right? Okay. Step back 3. So now Dallas comes back the other way, okay? So now I don't remember if they scored or they didn't score, whatever.
Okay.
Now we get to 1 minute left.
Okay. I can tell you what happened. In fact, I've already said
the person who put the dagger with 1 minute left and finished them off was Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown.
You can't say that. That's wrong.
That's my opinion.
Now, he made a little jump shot. He made the jump shot, the fall away.
Yeah, but he made it. He didn't miss it.
He made the shot. Then they came down and continued to score. Then White hit the 3. That was a huge 3.
After that, yep.
They came down and scored. Then a thunderous dunk by Tatum. That happened there. Then it went back. They missed. Then White went to the free throw line. Tatum went to the free throw line and made foul shots.
Now was the thundering dunk? The thundering dunk was after the step back. Is that right?
After the step back.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, like two or three possessions after that.
But
remember, Brown had his thunderous dunk prior to that little 1 minute left, and he made that little shot. So he had a thunderous dunk, and he made that shot.
That was a clutch shot with 1 minute left.
And then it came. They scored. Then they came back, and then White hit the big 3. That was extended even more, and then it kept going from the opposite way. So that's exactly how that unfolded there. So contributions, absolutely, and at the right time by all players. I have no problem with that. That's right, awesome.
So I'm looking at the Celtics here, right? So you got Brown and Tatum and Brown, whichever order you want to put them in, and then the supporting cast of White and Holiday.
Yep.
And Porzingis, even I know he only played one game, but he was fantastic in that one game. I mean, you can make the argument that he was the MVP of that one game. Horford, he contributes here and there. Pritchard came off the bench and he was just harassing Doncic. And I don't know how tall Pritchard is. He's probably like 6'1", 6'2". How does he get in there and get those rebounds? He gets rebounds, Pritchard. Like when other guys that are bigger than him don't do it. And even Hauser, who's kind of like, sometimes he's on, sometimes off. He came in and I think he hit like 2 or 3 big threes in that game, right? And then you look at the Mavericks. Yeah, P.J. Washington, nothing until the fourth quarter. He kind of woke up during that surge. But he's been really a failure in this series. Irving, just a disaster in the first 2 games. And even though he put all these points up in game 3, I mean, where was he in games 1 and 2? You can't just forfeit 2 games against the best team in the league, the Celtics. Jones Jr., Gafford, an absolute disaster. Can't hit a foul shot to save his life. Lively, looks like a stream being down there. The only thing he can do is that Hail Mary dunk thing. Kleber, what a stiff that guy is. So I know I'm being a little rough. Green, I mean, what happened to him? Hardaway? These guys, I mean, I don't know if Jason Kidd's a good coach or not, but he kept like rotating people in there. He's like, all right, let's put this guy in. Okay,
well, he's trying to find something, Paul. He's trying to find
exactly. He's put this guy in, he sucks. Okay, put that guy in, he sucks. Okay, put that guy in, he sucks. Okay. So now Doncic is with the ball all the time. Well, yeah, he's with the ball all the time because when he gives it to these guys, they can't do crap anyway. I think if these guys were scoring, you would see Doncic pass the ball more.
That's possible. I mean, we're talking about that last minute and 30 when they had their run and so forth. I mean, even Spear comes out and says White's 3-pointer from Holiday under the basket won the game.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So White, another contributor. White, Holiday.
Huge.
Doncic doesn't
How
have
about the
guys like-
rebound he got? That Holiday got the rebound.
Yeah, right.
On that
So
one.
my point is, I still think
Yes.
Doncic is the best player on the court.
Okay.
And the
I have
thing
no problem
is
saying that.
he's getting beat up today, but he
Oh,
doesn't have these guys that the Celtics have. He doesn't have them.
Nope, not at all.
He's trying to win the thing by himself. Remember there was one year where LeBron was still at Cleveland, and he was basically a one-man team. And I swear to God, LeBron put the team on his back and went all the way.
Did he have Irvin in love with him that year?
I don't remember, but he went all the way to the finals. I think Irving had already left. He went all the way to the finals, and you could tell that they weren't going to win when they got to the finals. I can't remember who they played in the finals, and I'm like, this is like him, LeBron against three other great players on the other team, whoever it was. I just remember watching it thinking, wow. And then he left the very next year, and Cleveland immediately dropped to like below 500.
Yeah.
Just that one player, So the Celtics, to Craig Pazinski's point, you could remove one guy, even Tatum. You could remove Tatum. I don't know. I like Tatum a little bit better than that. I think if you took Tatum off,
that would be really tough because again,
that's a tough one. I can see that's a tough.
I believe that would be tough.
I don't know if they win
them together.
I don't know if they got some great players, but I'm not sure about that. They probably beat some of those teams in the earlier rounds, but some of these games against like a Dallas or something like that. I don't know. You take him out of there. I think that's a big thing because he does do other things besides score when he's not scoring. But I concede all of that. But it's just a different situation. I mean, he's very fortunate, and I think he said that he's very fortunate. One day they interviewed him after the game. He goes, "Wow, what a team we have here!" I think it was the game that Holiday stole the ball, and he realized that he even said, "Well, my shooting is terrible. Golly, I got to shoot better," and all that. Mm-hmm. So he recognizes that he's on this great team. So I think that's a good thing.
These five guys, I'll tell you, I can put these five guys up with a lot of teams and go back in my head and say, this five is an elite with a lot of other good NBA final teams that have won championships. So, they get one more. They're going to be right up there as an elite team. They're very good.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad that you're a Celtics fan because you're not a Boston fan on any of the other sports. You're not a hockey, you're the Penguins, baseball, you're Baltimore, and football, you're the Dallas Cowboys. So the only Boston team that you root for is this one, and this one looks like they're going to win a championship. So that's good.
Well, the difference is when I was a kid, I never played basketball, really. I wasn't really into it. I didn't really care for the sport. I did it because my friends did it, and I hung out with them and played and had some fun, but I was never a big NBA kind of a guy. I loved baseball. I loved hockey. I loved football. I could play those every day with no problem. But basketball to me, I just wasn't my thing. So I never really took to it to say, hey, I'm gonna do that. So I just kind of followed the Celtics a little bit and went from there and kind of stayed with them ever since. Compared to the other sports where I really think elite players. And teams, so forth and so on. So that's just how that sport came to me.
I think a lot of times it has to do with who you rooted for as a kid.
Yeah.
You put on the TV, and some of the older people, the New York Giants fans, because Fran Tarkenton, and that was the only game in town. Or maybe I know Pete Braley, who you and I both know, he's a big Miami Dolphins fan because he started watching football right when Bob Greasy was there, and those great teams in the early '70s. I know a few Dolphins fans like that. America's team, Dallas Cowboys. There were a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans floating around. The Baltimore Orioles, I'm not too sure about that one. How did you end up? Was it like Brooks Robinson had a good game or something like that? What happened there?
Well, yeah, and then obviously they played the Pirates, and we are family, and they had that series there, and I was with Jim Palmer and then Belanger and all these guys, Eddie Murray and Singleton and Bunbury, and just started to follow baseball a lot more on TV, and I just liked that group, and I just kind of stuck with them for the years that they were there, and it just kind of latched on to the Orioles. And so I try to make it down to Camden Yards, once or twice a summer. I enjoy going down there to watch it. It's a lot easier to get to, better spacing than up here in Boston. So I just enjoy it.
It's funny. If you go to YouTube, right? I don't know, people put up stuff, and you wonder, like, did somebody like tape a game in an old television station, and it ended up in some cellar or something like that. So I put on there and I start clicking on different games. And of course, the more you click on it, the more they send you more stuff. So there are games from the early 70s, the Red Sox with Ken Coleman calling the game and all that. And I find this game with the Red Sox versus the Orioles, probably from the early 70s, right? And I'm thinking, let me watch this for a few minutes. And all the guys you mentioned, Mark Belanger, Brooks Robinson, Frank Robinson, and then I had to crack up. Up comes Boog Powell,
Wow.
Well, when I was a kid, the first game I ever went to was the Red Sox against the Orioles. I was only like, I don't know, I was 10 years old or something. And Boog Powell put one in the bullpen and blasted one out of Fenway Park. So I always liked Boog Powell, but you forget those players until you go back and actually look at the clips and you go, oh, yeah, I remember him. Oh, yeah, I remember him. Unless you're a Baltimore fan like yourself, but you forget some of the players. The Red Sox, they got like Dalton Jones and these guys coming off the bench. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about him, So it is kind of funny.
The other big one was every Saturday, 2:00 was Notre Dame football. And Notre Dame was on all the time. So that was just something that my grandfather got me into, and we would watch, from Ara Parseghians to Lou Holtz to all these guys, just watching good Notre Dame football. And so I latched onto them right away as well.
Ryan is saying that his dad became a Cowboys fan because they were always on when he was a kid.
Yeah.
The sort of like Landry Staubach era. Yeah. And I remember watching that too. Roger Staubach, they had some great teams there. And what was that game where they beat Minnesota with the Hail Mary at the end of the game there? I don't know why I was watching that game. I just happened to be watching that. Was it Drew Pearson? I just happened to be watching. I just happened to be watching the game, and for some reason, my brother was rooting for Minnesota. Mm-hmm. And so, how it is. By the way, we're not brothers. If Chris was my brother, that would be great. Great guy, same last name and everything. Maybe we are related. We have to go back a few generations. Mm-hmm. But actually, we just happen to have the same last name. But anyway, my brother was rooting for Minnesota. So we used to get on each other's nerves and all that. So, hey, back then, you didn't see Hail Marys too often. You don't see them now. But at least they can throw the ball down the field. That was unbelievable when Dallas won that game against Minnesota.
Yeah, it was Drew Pearson, as you said, and, just a regular run down there and throw it up in 50-50 ball and see what happens, and just happened to go, that way at the time. So we've seen a lot more since then with that kind of play, but that was pretty much the start of it. So generations to generations, and Ryan's dad did it. And so now, like he says, how he got into football with the old Madden game and going from there. So, hey, that's today's generation.
All right. If you want to get in, the phone lines are now open at 774-218-3393. I want to thank all of our callers. Everybody called at one time, and there was like a line jam up over here. So we really appreciate that everybody wanted to get in and talk about the Celtics. I got to tell you, you and I thought the Celtics were going to have a hard time with Dallas. We did. We both did.
I did.
And, when you look back at why did we think that, right? I'm looking back at this, right? 4-2 against the Clippers, Dallas, right?
Yeah.
4-2 against OKC, the number one seed in the West, and then 4-1 against Minnesota, who came back and knocked off Denver, right? So we're thinking, well, wait a minute, they made that trade late in the season. Yeah, they're the number 5 seed, but if you pick them up from, say, after the trade deadline forward, they might have had one of the top records in the league after they picked up a lot of these guys, right? So they were right up there.
Sure.
So they were a number 5 seed, but it felt like they were a different kind of number 5 seed. They weren't like a Cinderella team, you know what I mean, that everything was going their way. They beat some good teams. So when you see them playing against the Celtics, I mean, are the Celtics that much superior to everybody else? I mean, they won the East by like 17 games. I mean, they just wiped the floor with everybody. I know some guys got hurt and stuff like that, but the Clippers, OKC, Minnesota, Dallas, right?
Well, here's the other thing, Paul. Now, I would have to break that down a little bit more, as you're saying, but it goes to prove a point. Defense wins championships. And if Oklahoma City just wants to run, Minnesota just wants to run, and the Clippers just want to run, well, you got to slow down Doncic, Irvin, and some of these other guys and find a way to make them score more than just transition basketball and easy layups. And maybe that's what the West was. Maybe they just want to run and gun. But the Celtics are a very good defensive team. And that's why, besides the players are doing what they're doing and the depth that they have, their defense is winning this championship because they're stopping everybody else, and they're holding 100 points in 17 games in an average. That's all they are. And they were second in the league in defense all season long. So to me, that's what's proven to be the killer. And I think that's what the West was. Just run and gun. I'm going to outscore you 140 to 136 and see what happens. Celtics are not letting that happen.
One other thing I noticed, right? I'm watching the game, and I'm not seeing the X's and O's quite like you are. I mean, I see the switches and all that. But one of the things I noticed just in general was that even when the games were close, when the teams were within 3 to 5 points of each other, right? Dallas had to work so much harder to get baskets, like Doncic would come down and he'd have to dribble this way, dribble that way, lean forward, try to get the contact, try to bump here, try to bump there, try to get the shot off. And then he would hit it. A lot of times it was a 2. And then the Celtics would go down and be like, pass to this guy, pass to that guy, bing, 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 bing. This guy's open, swish. And I'm like, oh my God, and so as the game wore on, you can't keep that up for the whole game,
Well, that's why Doncic was getting really criticized today because they called him a liability out there on defense. And teams in the Celtics were picking on him and going right by him. And so that was one of the things where he was not fast feet, took a lot of blocking fouls, which obviously led to him being out of the game. But something like that, when you're being called a great NBA player on the offense, and yet you're getting criticized about your defense. And it did show up because he was not playing very good D out there.
Well, yeah. And so you think there's merit to that argument?
I do. I think that to be even there, you got to play on both sides of the ball. I mean, MJ was an outstanding defensive player. So was Kobe and some of the other greats. They play on both sides. Doncic right now is not. They're calling him a liability. And this is just regular, everyday sports writers saying this. So they're seeing what we're seeing, Paul, and they're calling him out on it.
Well, Spears pointing out that Luka got 8 points total in the fourth quarter's average, but Tatum too. Tatum's fourth quarters were weak. So reportedly, the best player on Dallas clearly is Luka. He had some rough times in the fourth quarter, which is unusual, although it never got down to that last 2 minutes to who's going to step up.
When did he get out of the game? How much time was left? 4 minutes?
Yeah, it was over 4 minutes. So that was
over 4 when he was out.
Yeah. And he made some bad decisions there. And the other thing he did that I didn't like is there was one play where he thought he got fouled. And while he was bitching to the referee, the Celtics went down 5-on-4 and they're passing the ball around. And it's basically like a power play. And
he was laying on the ground and he got up instead of running back. He just kind of stood next to the ref. And was arguing with him while it was 5-on-4 the other way.
And Tatum has done that. He wasn't doing it now, but of course it's easier to not do it when you're winning. But if I'm watching that, I'm thinking, man, if I'm a Dallas fan, I'm like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like he really hurt them in this last game in the sense that I think he lost control of himself a little bit. I think he just started to feel like he had to do too much, and those like couple of reach-in fouls and trying to take blocks and all this. Like I think he just needed to like get within himself a little bit because if he had not taken those bad fouls early in the game, I remember he got to like the third foul pretty early, and I'm thinking, oh man, this guy, he's in foul trouble, And those last 4 minutes, you got to wonder, like, if he was in there, those last 4 minutes, I mean.
Well, remember, they went on that run without him.
That's right. Yeah, I know. That's true. But I mean.
They had that going for him. So I know there's a little excitement there with that.
But 4 minutes left in the game. I mean, you put Doncic in there.
Oh, yeah.
Now it's like, oh, wait a minute. Now, this guy usually he's kind of magic at the end. I don't know. Let's see. And the other thing, too, is I don't want to make excuses. That last series, I don't know what he's got knee on one side, ankle on the other side. Maybe he should be in better shape. I don't know what the situation is. It looks like he's kind of, I don't know, want to say limping, but he doesn't look like he's quite 100%. And they'll never admit it because you can't. Once you say, hey, my knee hurts or something, they say, oh, you're making excuses,
Yeah.
But I mean, Tatum twisted his ankle last year and that hurt him. You know what I mean? So I don't think I think he's like, hey, I got to score some points here. And it's a lot more work to play defense. It's a lot more wear and tear on the knee and the thing and everything else. I just think between all of that and getting frustrated that these other guys weren't helping him, he just kind of had like a meltdown,
And Irvin finally had his best game, and he got going. And so you would figure that, hey, I got to stick around here because, with him playing pretty good, we can tandem together and work on this. I just think it's the other guys that there's just nothing. I mean, as soon as the other guys touch the ball, you just know that there's nothing going to be happening, and they're just all right. Hey, hopefully I can get it back to Luka or Kyrie and make myself look good because there's just no confidence in anyone else on that team.
There was one of the games. I'm pretty sure it was game 2, and I don't have the scores in front of me, but I think the Celtics won by 10 or 12 points, right? And you go back through that game, and the Celtics were like 90% at the free throw line. and Dallas was horrible, right? I thought I
Yeah.
was watching one of these high school games
Yeah.
where, I'm looking at the game and I'm like, wow, this team, if they
Even
just
Luka.
yeah, even Luka was missing him, and
Even Luka.
he hardly ever does. Irving was
Yeah.
hitting the foul line. He's a very good foul shooter.
Yep.
But like that guy Gafford, what I mean, I don't think he was. I think he was like 40%. It was like
Yeah.
4 for 10 over these games. You know what I mean? I'm looking at the game and I'm like, wow, the Celtics are hitting foul shots. This is like basic, from 12 years old on, right, or whatever. Even younger than that. You're a coach and everything else. I mean, you win and lose games at the free throw line. And to have an NBA team, I mean, if they had shot from the free throw line the same as the Celtics did, now you're within 1 or 2 points in that game.
Well, yeah, because you're figuring now, I think they gave away maybe 8 to 10 points, right? Without
Yeah.
looking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously that would make things a little bit better. Number 2, you're on the road. So, you want to do your best on the road to be 80 to 90% to try to keep that close and maybe steal one down the stretch, but they couldn't do it. And then the Celtics pulled away and that was the end of it. But yeah, you're right. You have to play not flawless basketball, but you got to play right to the limit, especially in the finals.
All right. So let me ask you a question here. I
Yep.
know it's only 3 games and we haven't had the 4th game yet. And the 4th game is part of the series.
Right.
Who's the MVP through 3 games?
Right now?
Yes.
Yeah, you got to go with Brown easily.
Now,
In fact, I would go probably Brown. Then I would probably go Holiday and then probably Tatum.
now wait a minute. You're putting your boy 3rd there?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I have no problem with that at all. Y'all trying to make this a comparison between Brown and Tatum. I keep telling you, I like both guys. This is a tandem that could last for years. If they do it right, these two could be together and win championships for years, Paul. I don't want to break them up. I don't want them fighting. I want them working together, being tight as can be. If Brown gets MVP, God bless him. Go get it. If he scores 60, God bless him. Go get it. That stuff doesn't bother me. What bothers me is to say that, Tatum's not doing nothing. And I find that absolutely wrong.
I
think the guy's become a leader on this team. I think the offense revolves and starts around him. And then he is shown with assists and rebounds and steals and played good defense a lot more than he has. And he's matured along the way. So I'm real happy. And I think Brown's done the exact same thing. Because remember, they cursed him last year. If you remember, his ball handling sucked. His left hand was terrible.
Yeah.
They used to scream at him. He's improved.
Yes,
he went out and he tried to get better. That's all you can ask for. And at least he's done it. And I think Tatum's done the same thing.
So there.
I can't complain. I don't know how you can complain.
All right. Now suppose let's say Tatum has a really big game 4, right? What does that do? Does that change the analysis? I mean, game 4.
I still think because I still think it goes through what has happened, not just one game. I mean, if Brown lays an egg, which I don't see him doing, and does absolutely nothing, and then Tatum goes really off, that's possible, but I doubt it. I still think it would be Brown, and I expect him to contribute. I expect those guys in double digits in rebounds and hopefully points easily. So working together, play unselfish basketball, and whichever one's playing great, go get them.
You brought up something a moment ago that I was thinking, and that is if they can keep this together.
Yes.
Not even just Tatum and Brown, like these other guys. If they could just keep this core together. Now, Horford is probably going to retire. Who knows?
Well,
but
that's okay, yeah.
But if you can keep Tatum, Brown, White, and Holiday, I mean, Porzingis is always going to be hurt. That's going to be a problem. But Tatum, Brown, White, and Holiday, and then some of these other guys, Pritchard, some of these guys, if you can just keep them together for a while, that's tough to beat. I don't care
the
about
problem is it's the money.
Well, yeah, the root of all evil.
Yeah, and that's, and everybody wants to leave and get another contract and go to other teams and so forth and so on. So, yeah, I'd like to see it. I don't think it's going to happen as much as we want to, but that doesn't mean you still can't make other moves. You might lose Pritchard, but get something in its place. You might lose Hauser, but get something in his place. So there's interchangeable parts, but if you can keep that core, Paul, I think they can run for a while. Why not?
All right. So do you think, not that our predictions have been any good so far,
Nope, I haven't.
Do you think Dallas is going to find a way to force Game 5? I don't know. I think it's tough.
Yeah.
Celtics are so much better than they are.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it from what I've seen in the first 3 games. They're really going to have to need a lot of help from that bench, and I'm just not seeing it. No one's really come up and stepped up to the forefront. And listen, kid's been trying. He's throwing everybody at him, but no one's saying, hey, I want to be in this and take over and help Luka and Kyrie. So right now, no, I don't see it.
All right, well, let's take the opportunity to thank our sponsor, Scotty's Pub, 202 Pleasant Street, Fall River, Citywide Glass. Not one, not two, 3 locations to serve you in Dartmouth, Fall River, and Taunton. Lakeville Athletic Club, 325 Bedford Street in the great town of Lakeville, Massachusetts, where you can play tennis, pickleball, and more. And also John Seed, attorney John B. Seed, 156 8th Street in New Bedford. You can go to his website at johnseedlaw.com. Thank you to all those who commented and called in. Ryan from Rochester, Spear from the Cape, although he was up in Maine today. Ben from Dartmouth, Craig from New Bedford, and the rest of the folks commenting here today. And Nelson from Fall River. How can I forget Nelson? How can I forget Nelson from Fall River?
I know he brought up the Knicks. I didn't even mention the Knicks today. I don't know why. I never said nothing about the Knicks.
Yeah, he was just grasping at straws. He just, I got to tell you, I accidentally called him. You know what? Sometimes you're fumbling with your phone.
Yeah.
And I was trying to call someone in the N category, and I clicked on Nelson in Fall River. Then, oh, wait a minute. I don't want to call Nelson from Fall River, so I hung up. I made another call. So then Nelson called back, and he's like, "Did you call me?" I said, "Yeah, I called you by mistake. Hey, hopefully we'll hear you on the show and all that." This was before the game. This is before the game. He goes, "Oh, good. I'll call tomorrow because the Celtics are going down tonight." I said, "Oh boy." If the Celtics lose tonight, we're going to hear from you tomorrow. Well, he called in anyway. Credit to him there, but he was really going to give it to us if the Celtics lost that game. He was all ready to go.
I'm just happy everyone calls in, and it's
absolutely
a great show, and it makes it even better. So
it's a lot of fun.
Calls coming. Keep the calls coming.
Great job today, Chris. Thank you very much. I'm Paul Santos for Chris Santos for Santos on Sports. We'll talk to you again real soon. And don't forget, let's get ready for that parade. We'll talk to you soon.